All right, episode 4 of Reg Wars. Sorry for the delay, but we are back with a very special guest, a close friend and a neighbor. You may know him as Yum Dubs Vaysman, Moy Dubs this summer. We got Justin Vaysman. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate the intro.
Yeah, so this isn't your first podcast. You did one with Aubrey about a year ago, and at that time you had quite literally just quit your job to play full time. I re-listened to a bit of it last night, just getting ready for this, and at the beginning you said you were saying you were running pretty hot live, and you might be a little bit overconfident in that arena, and then immediately after you rip off like 100K the Borgata, and then you have the deep run in the main. So it seems like it's been going pretty good so far, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how fast everything happened. Obviously super validating, like making a big life decision, like leaving your job and then things just work out right away. I know it doesn't always go that way in this game, so I feel pretty lucky in that sense. And then you had to come out, try again this summer, and for it to go really well. It feels good.
Yeah. In that time, have you learned any lessons in so far of like balancing your playing with other things in life? Because when you're working full time and playing poker, it's already like a pretty hard balance to do, right? You're getting home from work and you're playing for 7-8 hours. With all that free time now, how are you filling your days? What do you like to do?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's still something I'm learning, like more and more. Like it just takes a little bit of time to get used to that. And like just going from being in school to then working full time, and now, just working for myself essentially, not really having like any external deadlines beyond just like what's the next tournament to play. It's definitely something I've struggled a little bit with. Like just it's hard to separate, when you're working and when you're not a little bit. Like, I take some time off, but I'm still thinking about the game. So people like reaching out, wanting to talk about it. And then obviously, if I go out for the summer, I'm gone for like 2 months almost, where I'm just like only thinking about poker. It's a little bit hard to kind of maintain that balance. But I think it's something I'm learning about more and more, like not being afraid to take time off. And just like really trying to be present when you are playing.
Yeah, I find that pretty tough as well. I mean, I'm still in school part-time, but playing a bunch, and it's hard to, when you're not like forced to wake up at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and do your job for 8 hours a day, right? It's hard to really find the time to kind of fill whatever the 40-hour work week, 50-hour work week that you normally would be on. Yeah, I mean, especially just study-wise, right? You have so much free time during the day, but you're not probably going to study for 8 hours a day because you can't retain that much information. So do you have any ways you kind of like to balance up that time, whether or not you're studying on specific days, or how much you like to study at a time, things like that?
Yeah, just kind of carving out time consistently, like knowing what works for me, like kind of having a soft schedule and following that, like knowing what days, like I like to kind of get things done on like Saturday mornings, like even though, I'm free most days, like for me, that's just one of the times I'm more productive. So just kind of identifying that, I guess, and like understanding, when I'm usually playing tournaments, when my family is free, when my friends are free, like kind of working off their time too a little bit. So yeah, I'm not a great like morning person in general, but like trying to hold myself to, when I do have time and when I do feel like I can be productive, just really trying to make the most of that time.
Yeah, that is probably one of the biggest perks of playing poker full time, is the no alarm in the morning, kind of being able to wake up whenever you want or start your day. And I was thinking about that recently.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember, like, I mean, for some random things if I have something in the morning, but I very rarely have to wake up to an alarm and like feel groggy the first 2 hours that I'm awake. It can kind of just like go at my own schedule.
Yeah, it feels really good. So like when I do set an alarm, it's usually for like 10 a.m. or 10:30. Like for that to be an early wake up, I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we can talk about the summer you had as well. Obviously you had some pretty sick success last summer, and then this summer pretty much similar results. You got third in 800 bracelet for 90K, which I guess we can kind of start the talk about. It was a really tough final table, right? I'm kind of blanking on who was on it directly, but I remember it was like Darren Elias, maybe Landon Tice too, and some others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one was cool. It was like a one-day tournament on a Sunday. So like obviously, I'm assuming most of those guys played like a full Sunday schedule, and then we ran deep in that one. It's like, I think it was like 3 a.m. Vegas time. So Darren was on the East Coast, like it's 6 a.m. for him. So it's cool when you get to play. Obviously it sucks just how late some of those tournaments go, but it is really cool, like that an online tournament can just like feel like such an experience, I guess, and run like, I don't know, just pretty deep and have so much money up top. Yeah, Darren was on the final table. He ended up winning it, which is also cool in its own right to kind of lose to him right after he had that like deuce to 7 heads up match with Nick, and it was for his first bracelet. So for him to go and turn around and win this bracelet like kind of makes it more memorable as well.
He knows that.
I had other friends on the.
I said those hours. It's like that was an 8-hour heads up match, and then he's playing at 6 for a bracelet when everyone else is on Vegas time. Like that's such a disadvantage.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, I felt happy for him just knowing that, like, I don't know, I'm sure he would have rather won the deuce to 7 tournament, but it's cool that he was able to just follow it up with the win. Yeah, I knew Landon was on the table as well. Nick Verderamo, I'm pretty close with. Corey Thompson, Albert Camus, or Taters, whatever you want to, refer to him as. He was on there, and he's had a ton of success as well. I think he won one of the earliest bracelet events of the summer, and like got heads up in another one, and I think he finished 4th in that 800. So yeah, it was a really tough table, but really cool tournament. So.
Yeah, he's been crushing.
And then I was obviously third place. Third place is a little disappointing. I lost a big all-in to Darren, but then just kind of followed in his footsteps and just took it out in the next one and managed to come away with a win.
Yeah, I was gonna say a few days later you ended up taking down the 5K online and then live FT bracelet for 250K. And not many 5Ks run online, especially in regulated. So that's probably got to be one of the toughest online fields there is.
Yeah, I mean that was the first time I've played an online 5K. So yeah, not many of them that run, and not something I'm like super comfortable to fire in the first place. So yeah, it felt good to just take a shot and for it to work out.
Yeah. Also, I'm curious, kind of the dynamic of you're not used to playing tournaments where you have 2 days more to like prepare for the final table, and for this, it was mostly online throughout the entire time until you got to the final table. But what was the process like preparing for a spot like that? You got a few days to study, you can do a lot of things, look at the chip counts, who the other players are. I'm just curious what your mindset was in terms of actual studying, what you were thinking, how are you planning out the process?
Yes, like right away, I mean, just knowing I had 3 days between when we wrapped up online play before going into the final table, I kind of recognized right away that was a pretty unique situation. Like the way I thought about it, that time to prepare is kind of the highest ROI studying I'll ever really be able to do in this game. Like in general, you're just like preparing, just like broadly trying to plug leaks. But now I had like a specific, task at hand, I guess. Like to your point, I didn't know who the players were going to be. I had an idea of what the chip counts were going to look like. I kind of tried to spend some time preparing and like visualizing like the different ways in which the final table could run out, like what the stack distributions could look like. Try to prepare for that, I guess, like both like tactically and emotionally, just like kind of know what the mental swings could look like. Obviously being professional and having a couple other big final tables, I think, I'm a little in a better spot for that, I guess, where I can like prepare for the different ways things could run out. But yeah, I just, mentioning the 3rd place finish earlier, I feel like I've had a lot of 3rd place, 4th place finishes in some of the bigger tournaments. So I really wanted to practice my 3 and 4 handed strategy, really feel good for that part of the tournament. I think for the most part it's just been variance with the 4th place finishes, but there is a little voice in my head that thought I might just be the worst 4-handed player of all time. So I really wanted to make sure I had a clear picture of like, I guess, what the strategy would look like in a lot of those spots. So like, obviously apply it to this tournament, hopefully be able to execute, but also, use this as a learning experience just moving forward as well. Cause obviously you can't control some things, I could easily have finished 3rd, 4th, 5th, but I wanted to make sure that, I guess having the pressure of a big final table, I felt as though some of the studying would really stick as well moving forward.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I remember, I think Landon got to the final table of like a big WPT thing last summer, and it was like, I want to say like a month or like something like that between the end of whatever day it was before the FT and when the actual FT played out. So kind of the same thing. He like you recognize those are the very high ROI studying spots that you can do. They don't come up that often. And I think he was just like reviewing with Patrick Leonard like a billion times a day, just like running sims constantly, which, is definitely worthwhile when you already have that much money locked up and so much to play for.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, and I assume it's a similar thing too, where like that time he spends with pads is just worth so much too, like for that final table and beyond as well.
Did you think about hiring anybody to help you prepare for that FT, or were you kind of comfortable in your own game?
Not really, no. Like that wasn't even something I really realized was something I could do, I guess. I'm lucky to have like some friends who are pretty resourceful and were willing to help me, and like help talk things over. And yeah, even that I'm pretty thankful to have had.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, that seems to be more so for the like the main event final tables, or like a Triton final table with like 5 mil, 10 mil plus at first. I think, I'm not sure how common that is for other FTs, but I'm sure it's can still be worthwhile because, you know, it's kind of the same thing. You have a lot of time to plan. It's pretty high EV studying.
For sure. Yeah, it's a little tough too, just like any time during the summer, especially we were getting kind of towards the tail end of the summer, like everyone else who's out in Vegas is usually pretty busy too.
Yeah.
You know, obviously their own tournaments to focus on, everyone's a little tired. But yeah, again, you know, lucky to have a couple guys back home who were able to talk things out.
Yeah, it was a really fun tournament to sweat. I mean, it's a pretty damn shame that there was quite literally zero coverage of it anywhere. Like, no one posted about the FT on Twitter, and there are no winners picks anywhere. Poker.org, Poker News, no coverage. So you guys got to step it up. Come on.
Yeah, a little disappointing, but I kind of liked the tournament for what it was. You know, we're just showing up, playing out an online table. We were on one of the like side feature tables, and then on the other side of the room, Martin Cabral was like on the final table of the mini main. So there was definitely like an atmosphere in the event center, just not really directed towards our table at all. Like we were just kind of playing high stakes in the corner, which felt cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I guess one of the talking points of the tournament too was the fact, you know, no coverage, and the fact there was like 20-minute levels, which is pretty absurd in a vacuum, just to be playing, you know, a turbo tournament for that much money after playing, you know, 20 minutes online in a 6-max online tournament is one of the best structures you'll ever get for, 20-minute levels. And then live, that's like, it's just a turbo, so it's kind of crazy, you know, that switch. But like it obviously worked out for me.
For context, the levels were 20 minutes online, which is very, very good, but it does not at all equate to what level timing should be live, and they didn't change it, so it was still 20 minutes, which is just a travesty, right? You're playing a hyper turbo live for a stupid amount of money in a bracelet up top. I truly think that this could have just been like an oversight, like no one probably even recognized it, which is a shame.
Yeah, it just kind of reflects like not much thought being put into it, I think. Yeah, obviously it like worked out for me. I kind of won the big spots I needed to, like pre-flop. Like for overall, like I think our playing experience wasn't that bad. Like everyone played pretty quickly. It was a 6-max. We got down to 4 players pretty quickly, and like, you know, in some of the higher stakes tournaments live, you know, there's excessive tanking or people playing really slow, but there's like a level of mutual respect, I guess, and everyone kind of recognized that obviously the structure is kind of a joke by this point. So people were playing pretty fast, and I think I think for us it worked out. I heard that one of the future tables was like, I think it was the 2500 or like a 3K online, where it was 15-minute levels online, and then they came out and they played 15-minute levels in the live final table, and it was like an 8-max, and like there's nothing you can do with that by that point. That structure just beyond saving. So yeah, just pretty crazy what they're doing with some of these higher stakes tournaments.
Yeah, no, that is a joke. I don't understand what it's just purely an overlook. I bet you could have told somebody like before the WSOP, hey, these are 20-minute levels of the FT, but they probably didn't even publish that anywhere, so I guess there's no reason to correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious if they'd fix anything with that in the future, because I don't know if I could play like a tournament where I know it's going to be 15-minute levels live at the end when, you know, all the money's up top. It just seems a little absurd.
I was trying to remember what like the average big blind stack was at the beginning of the FT, because I remember towards the end it was like around 20, but you guys started pretty deep too, right? It was like, I want to say you had 50 or 60.
Not super deep. I think I had like 40 some bigs, and I was chip leader. Maybe I had more. I'm not sure.
Got it. But yeah, I mean, you guys were playing whatever, like 3-4 handed with about 20 big blind average stack, which is like fine. So it didn't get egregious to the point where you guys were just playing like 5 big blind stacks, jamming and calling every hand.
Right. Yeah, definitely the tournament itself moved pretty fast to avoid that. I guess like final thing too, which is like the structure and everything. When we got 3-handed, like even all the players on the final table were pretty solid. And then when we got 3-handed, like I don't know that anyone had much of an edge on anyone, and our stacks were like very close to even. And it would have been just like such a nice spot to be able to chop, just given the structure. And like they don't facilitate chops, like, you know, between not having a very playable structure, not offering chops, it really is like not very player friendly, I guess.
Yeah. Were you thinking about offering a chop, like an under the table deal? Just, or is that too?
No, no way. I mean, I was the only American left, like Final Four, and just between actually, it was a sweat, even whether or not we were going to get paid out by WSOP. Like the money just kind of goes on your online account, and like at least I don't have the international tax, whatever to worry about. But like for the other, yeah, I wasn't gonna. That's just not something I would have been comfortable like sweating.
Yeah, no, it's enough of a sweat trying to withdraw that from a WSOP account.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. All right, we can change it a little bit more to the future, but beforehand, I wrote up some quick would you rather questions that I didn't send to you beforehand. I just want your kind of live thoughts. Don't worry.
Kind of blindsided by that. Did you do that on the other episodes, like the previous ones?
I'm spicing it up. It's been a few months since the last episode, so I got to bring it back with.
Okay, fair.
All right, just 3 quick ones. First one is, who would you rather have at your live table, Martin Cabral or Will Kassouf?
Definitely Martin.
Really?
Like Martin, I actually find like mildly entertaining. Like I don't know, and Will's just kind of a pain.
I would have factored in like a skill level more, and then like annoyance too, because I feel like
Okay.
Cabral is much better than Kassouf as well.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true, but I like first thoughts just like who's more bearable. Not that either of them are someone you want at the table.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts you want to share on the Martin Cabral antics this summer? Do you have any hot takes or?
Actually, I will say like one random thing. The mini main FT was playing out at the same time as ours, and we go on our first break. I go to the bathroom, and as I'm heading out, he's walking in, and like I hadn't seen him in person too much. He looked like really angry. Like I don't know, like he looked pissed. Like heading into the bathroom, I was like, oh damn, like I guess he just busted. And I like get back into the tournament area, and it turns out he had just won the thing. So it was yeah, just not what I would have expected. Seeing him there, I don't know if he's just got like an off switch. It was that was interesting.
Pure adrenaline running through his veins. That's funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other than that, like I played a couple tournaments where I was like kind of near him, and I mean, he's annoying for sure, but yeah, I think he's still got a little bit of like redeeming qualities compared to Will from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw on the streams this summer, it was definitely times where it like seemed like it went a little bit over the edge, like just talking to certain dealers certain ways, or like even some other players.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part it is pretty entertaining, and I think what proves that is like I couldn't turn off my TV when he was on the stream, so it was definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, there are definitely a couple like really memorable moments, like D Peters bluffing him, and just some of the hands, like the hand where he chopped it up like Ace King versus Aces against Barin too. It was just like so funny to me.
That was the first hand of the FT too. It was pretty glorious. All right.
Yeah, just for that to be happening at the highest stakes is pretty funny.
Yeah. All right. Second one is, when you're playing live, would you rather have no headphones or not be able to eat, including on breaks?
Damn, I feel like I don't do a great job eating, and I don't listen to music too much either anymore. So I think I can make it through without either. But I guess like I'd rather still have access to food. Like I can definitely live without headphones.
Yeah, I've only played live like once or twice, but I don't really like headphones. I like to be able to at least hear what other people are saying, try to get a read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really bring them out too often at all anymore. I think it's just part of the experience, is just being a little more present.
Yeah. All right, and the third one is, would you rather win 2 Triton mains for 5 mil each, or win the WSOP main for 10 mil?
Obviously 2 very good situations. I'd be pretty happy if either happened. I guess I'd still have to say the WSOP main. Yeah, I think it's just, I haven't played a Triton event, so I can't really speak to them, but like the WSOP main obviously is one of the most special tournaments that runs every year. And I think just, to be able to have another run, I got like final 3 tables last year, to have a run like that, but actually come away and win is, yeah, I can't even imagine what that would be like. So I think I'd have to go with that.
Yeah.
Also just, a Triton main would be an incredible tournament to make a run in, but realistically, those are smaller fields. I think it's more realistic to like have that happen over the course of your lifetime than to win the WSOP main.
Yeah, and you probably would have a decent chunk sold for a Triton main, I assume, as well.
Yeah. If we ever get there somehow, I think that would probably be the case.
On one day, which is, I guess we can kind of, yeah, this will be the next topic we can go into is your future plans. Um, so, do you have any idea of where you want to be in the next few years, whether it be playing live a lot more, kind of playing online, keep grinding the regulated markets, move over to some of the unregulated ACR stuff? I'm kind of curious where your head's at with that.
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty happy with what I've got going now, just between the regulated games and being able to travel for some of the East Coast tournaments, and then obviously going to Vegas and like Florida. I'm pretty happy with all that. There's definitely other things I can work towards. Triton not really being one that's on my radar. Just from what I've heard about the rake in those tournaments and like what edges would be, and just how high the stakes are. Even the Triton one that they're running now, I think the rake's pretty tough in those tournaments. So I'd say just more so just kind of expanding on what I'm doing now. I was able to take some shots in like 5Ks and 10Ks at the WSOP this summer. So being able to do that, moving forward would be really cool. Eventually trying to work up, I guess, to the 25Ks would be the next goal, like between that and in Vegas and Florida. I've thought about moving to Vegas a little bit. Something I'm thinking about. Obviously, I'd be like unable to play some of the online games I play now with like BetMGM. So I guess to offset that, something I'd be working towards is like maybe eventually playing like the Poker Go Tour series. I think for me that would kind of be the big stage that I'm working towards. It's not Triton. I think it's a little more realistic. But yeah, even that's not something I feel a ton of pressure to like fast track. Things happen pretty fast for me, but I don't need to rush anything, I guess. So yeah, overall I would say pretty happy with what we got now. Hopefully, the regulated games stay good, maybe expand. Definitely seems like there's more, maybe Poker Stars will merge one day or something along those lines. So yeah, really just prioritize online and then, find the shot takes live.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear people talk about not only the ROIs at like Triton, but also stuff at like the Poker Go Tour. It's like even some of those like 10Ks plus at the Poker Go Tour are like, I think Landon Tyson said before that it's like they're cutting teeth in like 5%, 10% ROI games maximum. Like they're still pretty tough fields. So although it is cool to play on the live streams, they have pretty sweet trophies. It's a fun environment to be around, but yeah, not really as much of a reason to kind of rush into that environment rather than play it once you're comfortable.
For sure. Yeah, I still don't even really know what those fields look like on a consistent basis, or like how much, EV or ROI is really possible in this game. So yeah, I really don't know.
Any ACR on your horizons, or you're gonna play on regular?
I played a lot of ACR at the start of this year. Lost a lot of money on ACR. I don't really regret it. I think it definitely, helped me find some more leaks in my game, find some ways to sharpen up, prepared me, I guess, for when we did merge and the fields got bigger in the regulated games, and also just coming out and playing some of the high stakes WSOP stuff over the summer. You're going to run into some really good players. So I definitely don't regret, challenging myself in that sense. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the games I'm playing in now. Obviously a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth too, just with the run I've been on in ACR. So yeah, again, kind of a thing where I think long term, I'm pretty competitive. I want to be playing in some of the toughest games, and I want to know I can beat them. But it's not something, I kind of enjoy, not putting myself in some of the high pressure situations all the time. And I feel like ACR has just been a little stressful. So probably go back there when I need the challenge, I think. But yeah, for now, I'm content not to play on there.
Seems like a pretty good mindset to have, especially when you have such easy access to regulated. It's like there's no reason to push the variance and play against the really good Eastern Europeans. You can play here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually been just generally like lowering my table count actually online, which I thought might be the opposite of what I would do when we merged. But now like I've increased my average buy-in, so I kind of just prioritize playing fewer tables at slightly higher stakes. It seems to be working for me. So
yeah, that was another thing that I think you mentioned in Aubrey's podcast. Is I think about a year ago you were like, yeah, I kind of am thinking about pushing up my table counts from I'd usually play 8, I might want to play 10 or 12. But yeah, it sounds like you want to kind of decrease it, and I think that's like a probably good thing, especially for like skill development wise. You can really kind of focus on the highest buying games and be able to find leagues, improve them.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess another thing that would affect your future plans is if this tax thing gets fixed or not. Um, do you have any sort of like emergency plan if this issue isn't fixed by the end of the year?
Not really, no. I obviously was pretty lucky to have a good summer again, so I'm kind of in a spot where I feel like I can kind of just wait and see what happens. I'm hoping even if it doesn't get turned around by the end of this year, like I'm hoping that common sense will eventually win out. Like maybe the gambling industry will be affected so negatively that it's hard to ignore it for the next year or two, and things do turn around. Maybe I'm just being optimistic in that sense, but yeah, I think I can kind of afford to sit tight, see how things go. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I kind of had a moment this summer where I was like, I just love the game too much, where if being a tournament player wasn't an option anymore in the US, over the long term, I might move somewhere or just try and figure something out in that sense.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if moving to Canada or like Mexico or something like that would ever be in the cards for you. Sounds like it would be.
Yeah, potentially, but I think I'd have to like renounce my citizenship, which is pretty scary to think about. So yeah, I don't even want to like think about that anytime soon.
Yeah, nah. But yeah, you seem to be in a pretty good spot, especially after some pretty solid live results that you can kind of at least hang out for a year. I know the prediction markets have the odds around like 55% chance that it gets repealed before the end of the year. I wonder what those odds would be if it was like including 2026 as well, or like by the end of 2026. I imagine it would be higher because just kind of like what you said before, it's like definitely going to impact the industry negatively. So if people realize that, then it seems like a fix that would happen at some point.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
You mentioned PokerStars potentially merging in the future. I guess we can talk about the merge since this is the first episode since the merge. Anything noticeably different for you when playing online? I guess for WSOP or BetMGM, like, are you noticing anything with like tournaments taking too long, or issues things starting, or guarantees being higher, things like that?
Not really, no. I mean, for me, I think a tournament can't really run too long, I guess. Like, if it does, I'll make it work. Like, that's kind of just my job. I think in general, obviously it hurts everyone if they don't have a good handle on how tournaments are running. I had a run in that first big 1K they ran on MGM, and that one ran really late. I think I probably busted it around like 5 a.m. So that's obviously not ideal, but I think, MGM at least seems to be actively working on those kind of things. I think they started making some of those tournaments like 2 days, which I think is a good move for some of those bigger ones. I guess for me, what's really changed with the merge is, yeah, like I mentioned, being able to play higher stakes tournaments now, and just like the fields on MGM much bigger now. So there's, the additional element of variance, but also, prize pools are bigger now, which is pretty cool. And also just, yeah, playing against the Vegas regs, I guess, on WSOP is a bit of a change. Now that we're merged with them, there's definitely there's some really good players in those pools. And then we'll have some smaller field high stakes tournaments, which are pretty reggy. So I do feel like I get to kind of challenge myself in those whenever I feel up to it. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy just with the higher stakes options that are out there now, and some of the really big tournaments, seem like they've got potential to get massive, which is just really exciting.
Yeah, it must be pretty cool playing on WSOP. I don't play like high enough to play with any of those like live 10K plus regs, but people like Kristen Foxen are playing online all the time. Even Alex Foxen, like people like that. Do you play with them at all? Are they at your table a decent amount?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been surprised honestly at how much I've seen, like Alex and Chrissy. Like I wouldn't have expected them to be playing so often. It is pretty cool, just battling against some really good players. Who, it's really cool to play against them live, and then it's pretty cool to just be able to sit back behind your screen and not have, Foxen staring you down. So kind of cool to just test yourself against him online.
Yeah, a bit easier, probably your preferable environment when playing versus him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got to talk about PokerStars though. What are they doing? I keep getting more angry by the day, and I'm not even that excited for Coop, to be honest. I don't really know what to look forward to here, and if they will ever merge to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, neither. It really is a shame to say that we're not excited for Coop. Like I'm just getting into the mixed games a little bit more. Like for me, yeah, just like that sense of competition with everyone and like just all these different types of tournaments. It's supposed to be so exciting, and now I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna play many tournaments on there at all, to be honest. I'm usually like I've always wanted to be, you know, the kind of person that like votes with their wallet, and I don't always do a great job of that. But this is like one thing where like I've just stopped playing on Poker Stars. Like I don't know, like there's still some playable tournaments on there, but I don't want to support anything they're doing, I guess, with how things stand.
Yeah, and I guess at this point too, you have enough options with the merge on MGM and WSOP, and even if you're playing less table counts, it's like, yeah, you're doing all right without it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know.
Yeah, it is concerning though that they just don't seem to care at all anymore. You know, they used to have a representative in like the U.S. Discord. I guess they still have representatives, but they just don't, you know, answer any meaningful questions or seem like they care about making progress on anything.
Yeah, I mean, I tagged them a few times with the issue with the deal button, and then never got a response. And then I reached out directly, and they're like, "Oh no, the deal button's fixed." And I'm like, "Well, people are having issues yesterday, so no." And then they're like now responding to other people, so they're definitely being selective about what they're addressing. At least they're like communicating a little bit, I guess, saying that they don't really have any updates for us, but I don't know if the delay isn't for anything other than like FanDuel poker, then I think it's kind of a dropping the ball issue for them, right? I don't know if they're trying to focus on promoting like NAPT live stuff and like content creator stuff, but I feel like combining a merge with that would only increase the number of like satellite qualifiers for the NAPT or something like that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem very consistent or logical. So I really don't know. I feel like, you know, everyone's guess is as good as, you know, we really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we talked about this a bit before, but Bet Rivers is bringing a decent amount of promise, honestly. Like they initially launched in PA, and now they're in Michigan, West Virginia, Delaware, and they've publicly said that they're planning on getting to New Jersey before the end of the year. So have you been playing on Bet Rivers at all? Do you have any desire to play on there in the future if they keep expanding kind of stuff?
Yeah, I actually didn't know that they were going to be expanding to Jersey that soon. So that's exciting. That would definitely be something that would probably get me, you know, more inclined to start playing there. Yeah, I haven't been playing on there at all, which is probably a punt to some extent. But yeah, I've just been a little lazy and pretty content with the tournaments I'm playing now. But I've heard like nothing but good things, really. You know, it seems like people really like playing on Bet Rivers. So yeah, I'm glad they're at least trying to expand and yeah, I think they're running their first series right now, like since merging. So it seems like they're doing the right things.
Yeah, and I think they're being very active in the Discord, which is huge. I think, like, I hate to harp on stars, but it's like you have a group of 1,000 of your like super users for your product, like the most active players. You would think that you would want to hear the feedback from those players, and I think Bet Rivers is doing a pretty good job of that. Like, I had an issue where one of my tables, if I dragged it onto my monitor screen, it would get clipped and it wouldn't be able to play on it, only on my laptop screen. And within a week, it was fixed. You know, this deal button hasn't been fixed after years of complaints. So I think just little things like that seem to point that Bet Rivers is in a pretty good direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually had to like mute the Bet Rivers channel on Discord just because there's too much activity on there, and like I'm not playing on there. But like if anything, that's like a sign that they're doing something right, I think.
Yeah, go in there when you need it. All right. Another topic we can talk about is meditation. We had an interesting talk about it the other day, and you mentioned some influence from classes you took in college. I'd be interested to kind of hear you talk about that a little bit more, and you know, if you felt any like potential resistance to it at the early stages and how you kind of got into it.
Sure. Yeah, the class you mentioned, I went to Villanova, so we had to take two different classes on theology. Like freshman year, you had to take like an intro class, and then I put off taking my second one until like second semester senior year. Really didn't know what the classes, like the options were. I picked one because it had a cool name. It was called like the contemplative tradition, and it turned out the contemplative tradition is just like meditation essentially. So we would start out class with like 20 minutes of meditation, and then just read some like Christian works about like early attempts at meditation. And yeah, I thought it was awesome. Like just like starting my day with like meditating and then listening to a professor kind of talk about it. Like, yeah, I don't know. It kind of stuck with me. I don't really, follow too closely or like, hold myself to meditate every day or anything. But I feel like anytime I do come back to it, I've always had positive experiences. And yeah, I think that's something that yeah, hopefully I'll always, be able to come back to.
Do you come back to it usually? Like if you're playing, like for example, I see like a useful part of that would be during a series when you're playing 2.5 weeks straight, like 6 days every week. Is it kind of a time where you would find it, or where do you find that most useful?
Yeah, honestly, like I don't even think about like sometimes I just like have an urge or I'm like I think it would be good right now. Like I think I meditated like 2 or 3 times this summer in Vegas, and like just one day it was before, it might have been before one of the main event restarts. I just remember getting outside and just like sitting on the lawn and just like meditating for like 10 minutes, and like just like I thought that was one of the best days I've had as far as playing goes afterwards. Yeah, and I think anytime you're kind of just lost in the grind, I think it can kind of help you reset, I guess. Just like mindfulness in general, I think, but meditation obviously being a great way to kind of spark that.
Yeah. One of the goals that I wrote for myself at the beginning of the year was to at least try to get into meditating, and I haven't really done much of that. Do you think meditation is kind of underrated as like a tool for poker performance? Or is it kind of just something that works for certain types of players or certain type of people?
I think it's probably underrated, just like in general, like not even for poker specifically. Like I think it's like I guess what I'm getting at, like whenever I meditate, I just feel like I have like a more clear headspace, and I just like kind of go about my day, and I'm a little more present and just a little more aware, and I think just you just feel better, I guess. So I think that's got application like outside poker for sure. Like one of the things we did in that meditation class, we spoke about like transcendental meditation, and just people, we watched a video about people who like suffered extreme like injuries, like they experience like debilitating pain and like every day, and like they turned to meditation and actually like kind of worked. So I think the scope's like outside of poker, and then obviously as poker players you want to be sharp mentally. So I think there's a lot of like clear correlation there. So yeah, I would say just in general, like poker player or not, I think it could be good to at least try it out, see what works for you, and then if you do find that you have a clearer mindset, I'm sure that would be pretty applicable to poker.
Yeah, it seems like tons of top performers, like outside of poker too, just kind of in a lot of industries, but including poker, definitely they're pretty in touch with meditation, find it useful. I think like it's been said on the GTO Lab podcast that he tries to meditate every day, and I think doing it in the morning is a pretty good thing to do, especially because it's like a easy carved out time for your day where you can kind of just do it without any other obligations that are probably going to affect it. And I think like maybe Scott Seaver does it too, but yeah, tons of people do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've heard a quote too. Like I think most people try and do like 5-10 minutes a day or whatever, just like carve that out, whether it be in the morning or the evening. I think I heard a quote from somewhere was like, if you think you're too busy to meditate for 10 minutes, then you need to meditate for 20. Like you need like the busier you are, I guess, or the more hectic your day to day seems, I think the more valuable meditation could even be by that point.
Yeah, that checks out. Do you have any recommendations for somebody who is not into meditation to kind of get into that, or how do you even do it? Do you just like sit, or what do you think about? What do you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, it's super simple. It's kind of like what works for you, but I would just like focus on getting like a good posture. When you're sitting, like make sure your back's straight up. You want to be able to like feel your breath kind of originate in your stomach and like move up. And then you kind of just like let go when you exhale. So yeah, you just want your body to be comfortable. It's pretty easy to get fidgety, especially if you feel uncomfortable, and like kind of mentally how we were taught to do it in my class was you like have like a mantra, I guess, almost. Like for me, I'll say like inner in my head while I'm breathing in, and then peace while I exhale. But you can kind of say like in, out, like whatever works, just to like kind of prevent too many thoughts from arising. And then whenever you kind of do get distracted, once you're aware you're distracted, you kind of just need to be able to move on without getting frustrated with yourself, or like thinking about your thoughts too much.
All right. Pretty helpful.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a great meditation instructor, but yeah, I think it's mostly just like a kind of feel it out for yourself and whatever works for you.
All the regs can listen back to this and meditate before their session starts. Get your insurance.
Yeah, suddenly no one's going to be like tilting it off online or anything. Everyone's going to be so zen.
Yeah, you should have given them false instructions. I say nightmare, nightmare, nightmare.
I would never try and sabotage everyone like that.
Unless it's Team Old, which I guess we can kind of, talking about Coop earlier. Do you have any desire for the bringing back the old versus young Coop bet? I know that's kind of been a thing last year-ish.
I obviously would. Like, I would love to see it just run and be as competitive as it's been, but it's hard for me to imagine it would be. Just between the merge and like the pools getting bigger and PokerStars not having their stuff together. Like, I know people have suggested maybe we try and do it with an MGM series, but I don't know. I feel like it might have lost some of the magic. But if we can make it happen, I think it would be a lot of fun. So it's definitely something I'm hoping we can make work.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I think those times are just like super fun, not even to play, but just like to witness the competition. It's like cool to see all the regs kind of battling it out. Like, even though it is annoying seeing all of you guys hop into my like $20 tournaments every night, definitely bad for my EV, but it's fun to play against, and definitely, yeah, it's cool. I wish that there were more of those types of series that run, especially with leaderboards, because they happen every once in a while, but that's kind of my favorite time of playing poker. I enjoy the playing twice a week, playing 3 times a week, whatever, just kind of on a normal daily schedule. But I think it's really fun when you kind of just set aside 2 weeks and you just play like every single day. All the other regs are kind of competing in the same environment. It reminds me much more of a sports type of tournament than it is kind of just clicking buttons online.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It does feel like we're kind of all in the same like sports league competing, with an actual like time frame, where that's usually not the case in poker. So it is really fun. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in it too, and just like really fun for the whole community. It feels like.
Yeah. Sweet. Got a couple small-ish questions that I'm curious about for your time online. At least playing online. Do you have any pre-session routines or post-session routines that you like to do?
Not really. I'd say I'm pretty bad with both pre-session and post-session. For like a live tournament, I'm pretty good with like I have like drills set up, I guess, for before online sessions and before live. I think I'm a little better, when I'm out there for the summer. Just like recognizing, all right, let me prep for day 1, let me prep for a day 2, like kind of knowing what stage of the tournament I'm at. Whereas online you're playing a tournament through to completion, you're playing a bunch of tournaments, so it's a little harder to pinpoint things. I think if I did have a little bit more of a routine, I could have like specific things I wanted to look at before every day, like that correlates to what I'm working on, a little more off the felt. But that's just not something I do or hold myself too hard to. I do like to run through some drills. Now I haven't like set up. I think Schwib's actually mentioned it on the first episode of the Reg Wars podcast, where he'll have like 4 tables for the drill set up. So I've started doing that a little bit more to like kind of get in the flow of what an online session will look like, and just like make sure my autopilot decisions are there and I'm able to execute that. But yeah, but beyond that, I really don't hold myself to much before or after a session.
Yeah, interesting to hear you talk about the difference when like before an online or an in-person session. Like, when you're playing live, you know what tournament stage you're going to be at, so you can just drill chip EV, pre-flop chip EV, even post-flop. But if you're kind of going online, yeah, you don't really have that. You can kind of just like drill any pre-flop spot, any ICM stage is probably good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like, when you do have that rare opportunity where you're coming into a final table, for a big live tournament, you have the time to prepare. Like that's kind of where I really want to make sure I'm coming into the session, most prepared, I guess.
Yeah. Also important though to like not burn yourself out before you start an online session. At least for me personally, I don't really like doing a lot of studying on days that I'm playing. So normally I'll just text you if you want to go for a walk or something before I start. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's smart, just like conserving energy. I do think like long term, I know some people will like have like map out, I guess, what areas they're studying at the moment, and just like really try and, I think that helps just process, your in-game decisions that like kind of tie into what you're looking at. I do think that can help you like learn more efficiently, just from having played. But yeah, I do think there's also an argument to you don't want to use up too much energy before you go and play, especially some of the longer sessions.
For sure. Do you have any routines for your 5-minute breaks, or is that kind of same thing, not much.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Almost like, if anything, I'm making up for the fact that I probably just like didn't get some things done before playing that I needed to. So I'm kind of, usually scrambling a little bit on break.
Yeah. Put some stuff away or refill water, go to the bathroom. That's pretty much only my breaks. Jumping jacks if I'm falling asleep. Your desk setup, do you have any fancy setup, any mouse, any 2-screen monitor, 42-inch? What are we working with?
No, I've got 2 monitors, but nothing fancy, nothing really like set in stone. I've always thought that I'm probably going to be moving somewhat soon, and I'm really not, like, I hate moving, so I just don't like, having too many things, I guess. So I haven't really committed to my setup here enough, and I'm not the most tech savvy guy either, so it's all pretty basic.
Yeah, you don't need much to play online. Like, my setup is just a gaming laptop and a monitor, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I took my laptop I was using broke, and I bought like a $500 really cheap laptop, and that's just what I took with me to Vegas, and I was playing 5Ks online on this laptop. Like, it was probably irresponsible not to have invested in a little bit more. I didn't even have a mouse, so I was like using like the little touchpad mouse, and I don't remember what's where. I think it was like one of the smaller field 1Ks. It was like a final table. I like misclick folded kings, and that's when I was like, damn, I think it's a little irresponsible to be playing on this. But yeah, it's just that kind of just reflects my where I'm at with setups and technology.
Yeah, I remember telling you that you should probably just get a monitor out there. Like, you can get a cheap one that you can like 4 table on, 6 table on for $100. It seems like
the first Airbnb I was at had a bedroom I was in had like a monitor setup, so I was like kind of spoiled, and then I just I got lazy and didn't get one when I moved out.
No Bluetooth connecting to the hotel TV or anything.
No, we did do that in the Airbnb for like 1 or 2 runs. We had like 1 or 2 exciting mystery bounties where we just pulled up someone's run on the TV just to like sweat if they had bounty pools, which was fun.
That's fun.
Those are like the only mystery bounties I feel like that are enjoyable, are those like huge field ones on like WSOPs, like not the $100 binds necessarily, but like just the ones that it feels like there's a realistic chance of pulling a big bounty. Those ones are pretty fun, especially just to sweat.
Who were you sweating with again? I can't remember who was at your Airbnb.
At that, for the second half of the summer, I was with Napoli Stacks. His name's Julian, and Rand Andrew.
Nice. Very fun.
Unfortunately, none of us came home with big bounties, but
yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer the mystery bounties for the larger fields, just because like you look at that bounty distribution for us, like $100, like whatever 10K guaranteed. It's like, all right, we're not really like the adrenaline rush isn't there as much. But if you're playing like a 500 1K person field, you're like, oh wow, the top bounty is like pretty meaningful.
And even just like the first place money or like final table payouts are still pretty reasonable by that point, just because the prize pools are so massive that there's still, feels like there's something to play for even when the big bounties get pulled.
Yeah, that's another good point too. Do you have a tagging system for online that you utilize, or not really?
No, again, I'm like too lazy. Yeah, I'm not great with it. Like if I see something that seems like somewhat egregious, like I'll look for another hand or two from someone, and then I'll usually throw them a tag just to like show that they're probably not playing too close to theory. But beyond that, and like if I find out someone's screen name who I didn't know, who I think's a very solid player, I'll just try and make a note of that. But beyond that, no, I don't pay enough attention. I didn't even know. Funny enough, I didn't know it was Darren who won the 800. Like I had no clue that was him at the table. That would have probably been good information to have. I thought he was playing solid, but yeah, I really didn't know. That actually did, when I realized I didn't know it was Darren, that kind of, I got my act together a little bit more for like when I was playing the 5K. I was like actively trying to figure out who everyone at my table was. And yeah, I don't think that changed the fact that I just ran good, but it did give me a little more like, I felt a little more invested, I guess, or like trying to do as much as I could in that sense.
Yeah, probably a bit more worthwhile to shark scope some people at the bigger buy-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's just tough too because a decent amount of people are Europeans there who don't really have any volume on these screen names, and the variance is just going to be so high that someone could have like a 60 shark scope rating but still be a really good player. So it's tough.
Pre-merge, I thought that I don't have a good tagging system. It's just like bad, meh, good, great. But I've gotten pretty lazy with it after the merge, just because there's such a large influx of so many players, and I haven't really been updating it since. But it's something that I want to do, or at least if if my table counts drop down to like 4 or 5, then I have the time to be able to be like, all right, who's this guy on my left in this run? I'll look something up, but yeah, I think it's pretty overwhelming just to be tagging every single person at all of your 8 tables at once.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm sure it's beneficial long term, but I do think like for me, if I focus on that like short term, I'm not going to play as well, you know, while I'm trying to get information on people or trying to tag them.
So I guess you haven't been playing online in the regulated fields at least for a little bit. I mean, you've been back for a week or two, so you've gotten some volume in. But who's someone that you're always playing with online, or like whenever you start a session, you see them at like 3 out of your 8 tables or whatnot? What's a name that pops up quite frequently?
I guess there's a couple PA guys, you know, always makes me happy to see them still grinding, like Jeff, Dan, Napoli Stacks has been playing a lot more lately. I think those are some of the guys, ZJ, who will be in there from the start a lot. And then it's also cool seeing some of the Vegas guys on WSOP and some of the Jersey guys. Like Ripnick, he's very tough to play against. He's someone I see a bunch online. Yeah, I feel like the past couple of days I've actually had to be one of the people to get some of the higher stakes tournaments to run at the start. You know, I still see Lavin a bunch, which is cool considering the summer he obviously had.
Binks off $1 million. He's still playing these fucking $30 and stuff. It's unreal.
Yeah, he's a great like representative for the game and the regulated community.
Yeah,
It was really cool. I had it's actually the day before he won. I final table bubbled a win like multi-day 1100, which was it was nice because it was still like a 25K score, so it felt good in that sense, but it was like kind of a low point for me like early on in the summer, just like first time like bubbling a live final table. It was like 2:30 a.m. They all get to bag and come back all excited for the final table, and I was just like waiting for my payout. It was just kind of miserable. And I just, you know, I had a rough night, and then I just woke up. I wasn't really feeling like I could contribute much energy to the rail, so I just stayed home. But like being able to watch Lavin, you know, win $1 million was like one of the coolest just poker experiences I'll ever have. Like definitely kind of made my day, just being able to watch that and then like celebrate after the fact.
Yeah, it must have been unreal. I mean, watching it was just pure cinema. It was like the purest run you could have at an FT possible. It was very fun, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, such a cool storyline. And then like to be, you know, he played some really tough, like Drew O'Connell making the final table too was really cool. And then Mike Rosito and who was it, Kiat Lee, or it was one of the Punat, I think it was, like two real, yeah, just the final 3 like being really tough, and then for him to just kind of like steamroll and run pure, obviously, but like win what was ultimately a pretty tough tournament. It was really cool.
Yeah, as of a few days ago, I believe he's still waiting to get paid. I don't know if he got paid yet, but
Oh, wow.
sending him the run good to get the check from Club WPT Gold. Hurry it up.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. You got paid by WSOP though, so hopefully the podcast run good.
I did somehow.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin, for hopping on Reg Wars. I think that's all I had.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And thanks to anyone who watches, and just, I feel like the overall regulated poker community as a whole. I know, I don't know, I didn't really get a chance to thank you all, but definitely feel the support when I do have these big runs, and it makes it feel more special. So thanks for having me, Dave, and thanks everyone else.